My name is Andrew Perlott. Welcome to Socratic State of Mind. Why Stoics are sex positive. In a recent subscriber chat, I was asked how I deal with the Stoics' sex-negative approach to life, which confused me because I wouldn't characterize Stoics as disliking sex or finding it morally problematic. Or at least they don't find it more problematic than our drives for food, resource accrual, prestige, and pain avoidance, which also have the potential to lead us to bad outcomes. So I'm going to expand on my reply here, but first we need to cover some basics. One, Stoicism is not a religion, though there are quasi-religious conceptions about nature and the universality of reason embedded in it. Two, there were multiple Stoics who strayed from orthodox Stoic beliefs. Here's looking at you, Aristo of Chios and Herillus of Carthage. There wasn't one Stoic view on sex, and most shared Stoic tenets followed from or informed their famous paradox that virtue is the only good. And three, ancient Stoic opinions weren't mandates from on high, but the outcome of an attempt to reason toward virtue in a complicated world. They didn't claim infallibility. Many stressed the need to think for ourselves and not mindlessly follow convention. In fact, many ancient Stoic opinions were rebellions against the status quo of their day. They'd want us to rebel from our status quo and the ancient conclusions if we find a better path. So what exactly did the Stoics say about sex? Most ancient Stoics thought having children was a natural part of life, good for us in a way to live out the virtues in the real world. It's a springboard from which people can hone and then spread the virtue of justice via an ever-expanding circle of concern. But they didn't insist Stoics have children. Numerous historical Stoics didn't have any. Zeno of Citium, Stoicism's founder, had none, nor did Cleanthes or Chrysippus, the two subsequent scholarchs of the Stoa. Epictetus had no biological children, but adopted an orphan and raised her. It's unclear what their sexual lives looked like, but perhaps they were voluntarily celibate. But most Stoics didn't have the Catholic view of sex, that it should only be practiced toward the end of reproduction. The only Stoic who explicitly says this is Musonius Rufus, from whom only a few lectures survive. But even he is pro-intimacy and sex within the bounds of committed relationships. Quote, spouses should have all things, quote, in common between them, and nothing peculiar or private to one or the other, not even their own bodies. This love for each other is perfect, and the two share it completely, each striving to outdo the other in devotion. The marriage is ideal and worthy of envy, for such a union is beautiful. That's from Lecture 13. Good unions involve mutual love, respect, companionship, and a great deal of affection, he says. Sex was absolutely part of that, and when done wisely is a component of virtuous life. Without physical and emotional affection, Rufus says, you end up with something like a modern loveless relationship. Quote, they live together, yet their common interests fare badly. Eventually they separate entirely, or they remain together and suffer what is worse than loneliness, unquote. So sex is a tool that can bind two people together in virtue and affection, and should be given its due without blowing it out of proportion. So let's give sex its due. The Stoic satirist Persius left 6 scathing pieces lambasting the Roman elite for their follies. Being gourmands prone to overeating was a concern, but doing dumb and immoral things for sex was a close second. Yet even Persius never says sex is bad, nor that the pleasure we find in it is an indelible stain, only wiped clean by baby-making. That's not how Stoics thought about morality or pleasure. If you can line thoughts, words, and deeds up with virtue, then they're fine. Virtue is the ultimate filter keeping actions from straying into vice. If it fits through the virtue sieve, there's no need to condemn it, suppress it, or be ashamed of it. Quote, food should slake our hunger, drink our thirst, Let lust flow where it has to. That's Seneca, tranquility of the mind. I like how Seneca sets lust, sex, libido, however you want to translate that word, in the same category as milder drives that get free passes from puritanical types. Libido qua necesse est fluat. They want to dismiss sex as an unnecessary vice, but Seneca says it's a normal drive while also refusing to put it on a pedestal as modern people are prone to do. Hunger isn't bad, it keeps us alive. Money isn't dirty if we use it with virtue. Sleeping doesn't mean we're lazy, for we can't function well without it. So sex might be good if it doesn't take us off the rails. When sex goes off the rails. The problem is that it's very easy for sex to be immoral. Coercion, lies, immoderation, and caring more for your enjoyment than the good of who you're having it with taints what might be a moral pleasure. What about kinks? The judgment of them probably goes beyond getting consent. One way to judge them is by the dichotomy of enslavement. If a kink erodes your sovereignty over yourself, obsesses you, or makes you do things that don't line up with your conception of virtue, there's something wrong with it. I live in Austin, a weird city with many subcultures. Several acquaintances are part of kink groups, going to sex parties to have their sex watched, or merely watching the sex of others. I suspect the Stoics would draw a line here. They might say it crosses several hazy lines, actually, but perhaps most salient is the question of things taking up too much of your life and identity. Just as meals should be a healthy way to fuel our bodies without obsessing us, but might also provide pleasure, sex is in the same boat. Short of these concerns, I don't think the Stoics would care that much. Epictetus tells his students, quote, "If you do indulge in sex, then confine yourself to what is lawful," or virtuous might be a better translation. Don't make yourself tiresome. However, to those who indulge or be overcritical, and don't constantly call attention to the fact that you don't behave like them, unquote. That's from Enchiridion 33.8. The Stoic way of thinking about sex. Eating and drinking are not entertaining ways to pass time, but natural needs the body experiences. They need to be met appropriately and moderately, but why wouldn't we enjoy them? Sex is the same. If we make sex appeal our entire personality, as many celebrities do, or obsess about sex and objectify the bodies of others, that's a level of indulgence that crosses the line. So I'd say the Stoics are sex positive in that they are happy to give it its due. They're not deluded about it, though. An amazing orgasm won't remake you. Sex won't let you transcend reality, psychological hang-ups, or relationship troubles. People make the same mistakes with spirituality. In fact, some people make orgasms their religion. Sometimes we need to rein ourselves in. Is sex a human right? No. Can we live good lives without it? Sure, though many will find it challenging. Luckily, we don't have to. Thanks for listening. See you next time.